Hey guys, it's Braden at the Airless Quill 9 channel. I am back with you for the video that was just released on the new Barbarian. So we're gonna take a look at it and I'll give you my thoughts as we're going through the video. Let's get this started.
There is a lot new inside our friend who loves to launch into a rage and charge into battle. So first off, the Barbarian, like several of the other classes that focus on weapon use, now gets weapon mastery at first level. So just as
Expected.
weapon mastery transforms how the fighter plays and the rogue plays and others, it's going to transform how the barbarian plays depending on which mastery properties the barbarian player decides to unlock for their barbarian. I'm guessing many barbarians are going to be cleaving quite a bit.
Yes, probably.
But there are also other really tasty options for the barbarian who wants to take their weapon and just wreak havoc. Now, there's more. We at first level have also made it easier for barbarians to maintain their rage.
Yeah.
Any of us who've play barbarians and love playing them know sometimes the complexity of, can I keep my rage going? And with that in mind, we've made it so that if there's no one nearby, no enemy nearby that you can attack to keep your rage going, you now have the option of either forcing an enemy to make a saving throw with one of your abilities. This, by the way, is a nice boon for Dragonborn barbarians who can keep now their rage going by using their breath weapon, because that forces people to make saving throws.
Oh, nice.
But even better, you also have the fallback option now as a barbarian of simply burning your bonus action once your rage is going to keep the rage, its fires blazing as you continue the battle. And our thinking here was that since we allow you to activate the rage with a bonus action, why not allow you to keep it going with bonus actions?
This has also been core to a lot of the design philosophy in the book of, this is the identity of this class or this subclass. Why not allow you an easier path towards that identity?
Absolutely. In every case, we want to take what is special about a class, protect it, amplify it, and see if there are new ways we can allow you to engage with your class features and feel like, in each case, you are the most archetypal version of your class. So with that in mind, barbarians get even more. At level 2 in danger sense, we've now made it so that you no longer have to see the source of danger to benefit from this feature. And the only thing that turns danger sense off now is being incapacitated. We really wanted to lean in harder to the barbarian having this preternatural sense of danger, and whether the barbarian sees it or not, they get, it's almost like their spider sense, something wrong is about to happen.
Right.
We've also made it so that barbarians can now participate more meaningfully in non-combat situations with a brand new feature at level 3 called Primal Knowledge.
Yeah, I love this.
And I'm so glad to hear that. We had a lot of fun designing it. We had a different version of Primal Knowledge in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So even though the name has appeared before, the feature itself is actually a totally new feature in the new player's handbook that now allows you as a barbarian, while your rage is going, to make certain ability checks that use particular skills and make those checks using strength, regardless of what the normal ability is for those particular ability checks. So, looking at the list, that means that you could make an intimidation check, a stealth check, a persuasion check, and there's a curated list of skills that this ability applies to, that as long as your rage is going, you can make those ability checks as strength checks. And what's going on here narratively is that the barbarian is tapping into their primal power to fuel their effectiveness in whatever that particular endeavor is. So if people are trying to wrap their head around how is the barbarian using strength and persuasion, just keep in mind this is going on during their rage, and their rage always involves them tapping into this deep well of primal power. And it is effectively a supernatural ability that is transforming how they are making these ability checks.
I love it because, how is strength factoring into this? Well, it could be your presence, the enormity of you, or like the presence that you generate when you are raging. You can sometimes feel that, like almost like an aura. And that could be why the persuasion works. Intimidation is pretty easy to figure out.
Yes.
Like someone is very mad. Or when it comes to stealth, the creepy thing that I think of is when you're so strong, it requires little effort to move. When you think of a certain giant spider in a movie, and it's a hulking mass of giant spider, and it has no sound. There's nothing scarier than something that's big and bulky that you can't hear. I hate that.
You are really getting what we're putting down, because the idea is exactly that the barbarian, while their rage is going, has so much control over their own selves. Because remember, while a barbarian is raging, they not only deal more damage, they have advantage on their strength checks, they have resistance to a whole lot of damage. So it is a kind of transformation when a barbarian enters their rage, and primal knowledge is a new way for us to express that.
So I'm guessing, this would be most useful during combat situations. However, I believe if you wanted to, you could bonus action rage and then make the skill check that you're wanting to do and take advantage of that, of using your strength for that particular check. So it's applicable, and as far as we know, based on the playtest, I don't know if he stated it, but while you have limited number of rages that you can do, you regain one when you take a short rest, and you regain all of them when you take a long rest. So you could technically use your rage for social encounters as well if you wanted to. So I hope they give you a good number of rages to use in that case, if you can use it that way.
And it means that rage now is relevant even in the masquerade ball. That before, rage was only useful when the barbarian wanted to destroy something. Well, now the barbarian can also tap into their primal power to give themselves a presence, a control that will assist them in other situations as well.
That's perfect. I love this.
Primal knowledge is actually one of my favorite things that we've done in the barbarian, because I love playing this class, and I really like the idea of allowing barbarians to tap into their primary feature and feel like it's benefiting them in every adventuring context. And on the cherry on top is this feature also gives the barbarian another skill proficiency, because we wanted the barbarian to feel even more well-rounded in terms of their capabilities.
Perfect.
So we also have a brand new feature at level 7 called Instinctive Pounce. And what this allows the barbarian to do is,
I think this is something that they've taken from Tasha's.
Leap forward or backward, or whatever direction the barbarian wants, when activating their rage. When we get up to level 9, we get to one of those new features that gives the barbarian a new way to use one of their core features. And this is a theme we've already touched on in talking about the fighter and the rogue. of us looking for ways to give different classes new ways to use their core shtick. And so Brutal Strike is a new feature that replaces the old Brutal Critical. Brutal Critical in the past did not score particularly well in satisfaction surveys, and also, unfortunately, sometimes never came up for unlucky barbarian players who almost never.
I was just looking, there was a weird color change in the video there a second ago.
Never crit. And so for us, it was really begging for replacement, and that's why we've replaced it with Brutal Strike. And what Brutal Strike allows the barbarian to do.
I understand why they've replaced Brutal Critical, but I did kind of enjoy the original playtest where they changed the Brutal Critical to a die amount, and it was just extra D12s on critical strikes. I do get why they replaced it with this brutal strike feature. I'm not too sure how I feel about it yet. We'll see how they changed it.
Is if they are using their reckless attack feature, which they still have from their 2014 version, if they're fighting recklessly, you can forego the advantage on your own attack roll. So you're still accepting everyone else has advantage to hit you.
Okay.
To deal even more damage if you manage to hit, and in addition, add on an additional effect. And so we have several effects you can add on that allow you to push someone back and follow them. Also, you can slow someone down. And then at higher level, we give you other ways that you can use Brutal Strike, and the extra damage at higher level goes up. Now, probably the wheels that are turning in your head is this isn't only a cool way to really maximize reckless attacking. It's also a way to combo with your weapon masteries.
Yeah.
So the barbarian can not only start using these cool new effects when they're using their reckless attack, they can also create some truly devastating combinations by combining several of these effects with whatever masteries they currently have unlocked.
Again, if you want to be very successful at pushing people back, you're using a great club, use weapon mastery on that to push people back, and then on top of that, as a barbarian, you're pushing them back, all with that one attack.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes.
I know in the playtest it was a D10 that went up. So I hope they actually increased the die to a D12, because I feel like that just makes more sense for the barbarian, especially since you're sacrificing that advantage on that attack, deal that extra damage, and do that effect. I hope they just made it worth that sacrifice.
And it is meant to be a lot.
Yeah.
So we also in the core class have improved Relentless Rage. This was a feature that barbarians had before that helped them stay in the fight when dropped to 0 hit points. But in its previous design, it was far too easy for the barbarian to bounce back, but have so few hit points that a monster could then just drop them again. And so all of the features in the player's handbook that are like this, because there are several different classes, subclasses, and even species in the case of the orc that have a feature like this of sort of dodging death. We have looked at all of them and made it so that they are a bit more effective than they were before, so that we can lessen the likelihood that you will, again, dodge death only, basically dodge one and as you're moving get hit by another because you came back with so few hit points. Now, of course, there's still the risk that you will come back, and particularly if the monsters really have it out for your character, that they will drop you again. But we've again made it so that it is not so easy for that to happen.
So let's move on to the barbarian subclasses.
Yeah, so we have a brand new.
And I think in the playtest it was you regain amount of hit points equal to 3 times your barbarian level. So I hope they kept it at that, because that is a nice change to that feature, especially if they kept it how it was in the playtest.
Subclass in the form of the Path of the World Tree, and then we have the Path of the Berserker returning, as well as the Path of the Wild Heart, formerly known as the Path of the Totem Warrior, and then we also have the Path of the Zealot, a subclass that originally appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything and has been transformed in its migration from that book to this book. Do we start with the Berserker?
Yeah, it's tried and true and the most barbarian.
Yeah, so the Berserker is the classic barbarian subclass. Now, despite that fact, it was also a pretty low satisfaction subclass in the past.
Sucked.
Largely because its main ability, Frenzy, forced the barbarian to gain levels of exhaustion, which made people often hesitant to use their subclass's main ability. So when we returned to the Berserker for this book, our main goal was redesigning Frenzy, that we need to make it so that this feature feels fun to use and will make people excited to have this subclass. And thankfully, through the Unearthed Arcana process, we got to a place where people who were participating in that process gave the thumbs up and said, yes, the new Frenzy is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, this subclass is terrifying.
Yes, it's supposed to be. And really at its heart, Frenzy, just like the new Brutal Strike in the base class, is now building on core features, and in this case, again, Reckless Attack. That if you are a Berserker and you are using Reckless Attack, this now allows you, the Frenzy feature, to deal more damage once per turn, and it does not cause you to get exhausted while doing it. The trade-off, as with Brutal Strike, is, again, whenever you're using Reckless Attack, it means other people have advantage to hit you. But that is kind of a bread and butter for the whole Barbarian experience. The
Barbarian experience is literally risk and reward.
Exactly.
During the playtest, this feature dealt additional damage equal to a number of d6s that scaled with your rage damage. So, as well, if they kept it like that, I suppose this feature is good, especially since you're not punished for using it now.
So, and we've designed the whole class that way. It's about, you know, how much are you willing to take for some spectacular feats of martial prowess and whatever else you're doing with your rage and your class abilities. But that wasn't the only thing we improved. We also, in the Mindless Rage feature, we made it so that the charmed and frightened conditions aren't just suppressed by that feature, they're now ended by it. So the Berserker can now just say nope to being charmed or frightened, because again, their rage is just that powerful. And then we also took the Berserker's retaliation ability that used to be at 14th level and moved it down to 10th level. Because we wanted you to have that fun of doing retaliatory strikes sooner in your barbarian career. And then we took Intimidating Presence, which used to be at 10th level, we moved it up to 14th, and we didn't just move it up, we also made it way more powerful. Previously, Intimidating Presence had you target just one creature and try to freak them out. Now, in contrast, It's as many creatures as you want within 30 feet of you, and it's just a bonus action to do it.
Perfect.
As you try to strike terror into a bunch of creatures around you, and because it's just a bonus action, it means you can also still do your attacks or whatever else you're doing with your action on your turn. All of these revisions come.
I want to say, I think it might have been better to tie that to it activating whenever you enter your rage. However, since it's a saving throw ability, and they stated earlier how they've modified rage to perpetuate it, you can technically now do that on subsequent turns, and that will make your rage keep going. So you could do that as a bonus action on your second turn and then continue making attacks. Or do something else with your action, because it will perpetuate your rage. So, it is an improvement, I will say. We'll have to see how it works when it comes out.
Combined make the Berserker an extremely formidable.
Overall, the Berserker does sound like it was greatly improved from how it was in 2014.
Subclass, and I think now really earns its place as the iconic subclass for the Barbarian.
That brings us to the Path of the Wild Heart.
Path of the Wild Heart is a
I'm very interested in the changes to this one.
beloved subclass, again, formerly called the Path of the Totem Warrior. It continues to have its associations with different animal spirits, but we've taken those beloved pieces and given the barbarian player who has this subclass even more flexibility than before. In 2014, when you got the 3 different features in this subclass, where you chose an animal and the benefit associated with it, was pretty much it. But we've now made it so that for 2 of these features, you get to choose the animal every time you activate your rage. And then the other feature that gives you a more sort of always-on kind of ability that's not connected to your rage, you get to choose the animal associated with that feature every time you finish a long rest. We wanted to do this not only to...
That is an improvement, I will say. That's a big improvement. That means that just provides so much versatility for that particular subclass, and also doesn't behold you to a specific play style. You can modify. That'll just allow you to modify how you want to play that subclass every combat. I do like what he just said there. That'll make that subclass a lot more versatile and probably a lot more fun to play.
give the player more choice points as they're playing Wild Heart. But we also wanted you to be able to lean deeper into this fantasy of connecting with the different primal spirits. Because we felt before you were kind of, well, I made this choice, but I never do again.
Yeah.
And we really want you to have this feeling of like, today I'm communicating with the bear.
Yeah.
But tomorrow I might be communicating with the eagle or with the lion or with the ram. We also changed the animal names because we wanted to make it clear that these choices are not connected to each other. In the 2014 Player's Handbook, we told you that if you chose, for instance, bear for one of the features, you were not required to choose bear for the other ones. But we found that even though we said that, people seeing the same animal name showing up often felt they had to pick the same one all the way through. So that's one of the reasons why we made it so that every single one of the animal options is now different. None of them repeat.
Perfect.
So that it's super duper clear.
I do appreciate that
no
change.
way having to pick the same animal all the way down, because now it's impossible to. Now in the process, in addition to giving more flexibility, we also modified several of the options, and the options at level 6 got particularly improved. We wanted to make them more useful to you in a typical adventure. So now, for instance, if you pick salmon at level 6, you get a swim speed. If you pick panther, you get a climb speed. And if you pick the owl, you're going to have really good dark vision. And we wanted you to get some features at this level that would help you a bit more, particularly in the exploration tier of the game.
And early on.
Yeah.
I am very excited for this new subclass. It is the Path of the World Tree, very much rooted in Idrisil and legends like that.
And the Path of the World Tree, like the Path of the Zealot, are both about the barbarian turning their gaze outward to the broader cosmos. The Berserker and the Wildheart both really lean into sort of the classic barbarian fantasy of primal power either within oneself or within nature, whereas the Path of the World Tree is about connecting to the world tree that in D&D, just like in Norse mythology, connects to all of the worlds of the D&D multiverse. Or you can choose Path of the Zealot to connect to gods. And that's why I say those two subclasses are about, again, turning your gaze outward instead of inward or to nature. And the Path of the World Tree, because this isn't just a regular tree. This is not, a tree that's going to put just bark on you or something like that. This is the tree that connects one world to the other. Mm-hmm. That's why this path is especially magical among these paths. At the highest level of the subclass, is going to allow the barbarian to teleport as the barbarian taps into that extra dimensional power of the tree, but it also gives the barbarian ways to support their party by tapping into the vitality of this great tree to give themselves temporary hit points or give others temporary hit points.
It's a tank that makes everyone tank.
Exactly. Yeah. And that also gets at that this subclass can really fill a different role in a group than, say, the Berserker. The Berserker is really good at dishing out the hurt. And really any barbarian is, but the Berserker especially leans into that. The Wildheart can do that as well, but with the Wildheart you have a sort of menu of options to customize yourself. Path of the World Tree is really about leaning into barbarian as tank, because not only can you give yourself and others resilience, move yourself and your friends at high level through teleportation, but you also have the really fun ability to use the roots of the world tree to point to your foe and say, nope, you're not running away, come back. And that has been an especially fun thing to see in playtests, is this is the barbarian who is kind of the worst enemy of the foe who wants to always run away.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
The barbarian is just like, nope, come right back here.
Come over here ability, yeah.
Yes. And so really able to help their party. And on top of it, they also gain an ability to extend their reach with their melee weapons by having like the roots sort of extending from their weapons to make it even easier to hit someone far away. And the World Tree gives them the ability even to fiddle around with the mastery properties that they're using with their weapon strikes.
Very hard barbarian to escape, but the hardest barbarian ever to escape.
Yes.
I can reach further, I can teleport to you, I can teleport you to me. Yeah.
Again, at high level, I can teleport my whole party to you. It's like, hello. You know, the enemy thought they got away from the whole group, and nope, the Path of the World Tree Barbarian is like, hi, here we all are.
So coming from Xanathar's guide, we've kind of imported the Path of the Zealot.
I will say, during the playtest, the Path of the World Tree seemed like the most polished out of all of them. So I doubt they made very many changes from that. So as far as I am aware, that is a pretty solid subclass, and it will definitely be very viable for players to use.
This is the very divine focused.
Yes. So Path of the Zealot is all about being a barbarian whose rage is rooted in the might of the gods. And this barbarian could choose a single god to serve, a whole pantheon, or just divine power itself. And this barbarian, just as they could in Xanathar's guide, they have their divine fury where they can deal extra damage. But we have done some redesign and enhancement in this subclass in the process of bringing it over from Xanathar's guide. One of the big changes was to the Warrior of the Gods feature, which before basically just made it easier for you to be raised from the dead. And I mean, just full disclosure, I am not a huge fan of when we make features that rely on you dying.
Yeah.
And so I had us change this feature.
Yeah.
And you now get a pool of dice that you can use to heal yourself. It's almost like having your own version of lay on hands as a barbarian. But unlike the paladin who can use that ability to heal others, this feature is a bit more selfish and is all about keeping this barbarian in the fight as they channel divine power and just keep going and going and going. We also took a look at the fanatical focus feature that Zealot had before. It gave the barbarian a reroll, and as we've done with several other reroll abilities.
Right. I need to go back. I misheard what there.
As a barbarian, but unlike the paladin who can use that ability to heal others, this feature is a bit more selfish and is all about keeping this barbarian in the fight as they channel divine power and just keep going and going and going. We also took a look at the fanatical focus feature that Zealot had before. It gave the barbarian a reroll, and as we've done with several other reroll abilities, Player's Handbook, we now also give you a bonus to the reroll. We wanted to increase the likelihood that if you use this feature, that it will have a better chance of turning a failure into a success. Now, the area where we did the most redesign is in the capstone ability. At level 14, you now get Rage of the Gods, and it no longer requires you to drop to 0 hit points to gain its benefit, because this was, unfortunately, the Zealot previously had 2 features that relied on you dropping.
Great.
Or in this case, avoiding dropping to be activated. Now, instead, you can simply activate the Rage of the Gods when you activate your Rage, and it gives you various divine powers while it's active. You can fly for a certain amount of time, really tasty damage resistance, and you also now have the ability to thwart other people's deaths. So if other people are dying around you, you can use your reaction and you can try to save them. And so you now also can provide some of your survivability others around you. And so again, there's a little bit of paladin here, but with a distinctively barbarian flavor, because it's still, at its heart, the Zealot is about dishing out a whole ton of hurt.
And that's it for the barbarian.
That's it. I mean, it's a
lot.
It's a lot of new fun for our rage friends. And I can't wait to play a barbarian again using these new options.
The new Player's Handbook is available.
Yeah, I will say I am quite excited about the barbarian changes. Really just because it sounds like it's going to be a lot more fun to play a barbarian. And with the subclass options they have, just the updates to all those, I think you can play some pretty unique barbarian characters. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the changes overall. I can't say exactly if there's anything I dislike. I do understand why they made those changes to the Zealot Barbarian, those death features, just because that's not something that you can rely on happening all the time. So the Zealot seems to be more of a tanky barbarian while being able to deal that extra damage from its other third level feature, and just has more options for itself that it will be able to use all the time. So yeah, I think they made some good changes there, but want to look at it more when the class actually releases in September with the player's handbook. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say on that. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe if you want more from my channel. This is the last video for this week, but I'll keep an eye out if there's going to be more of these coming out next week. And I'll make sure to get some more videos out regarding other things that have been revealed in the following days. So till then, have a great day, and I'll catch you all later.